Oh, we're live. Hey, everybody. Oh, I was trying to get the lighting right. I ran out of time to put my lipstick on. But, anyways, I'm here for you. Welcome, everyone, to our info session. I've got some slides to go through. I can see we've got somebody live. So, feel free to interact with us here. And let me pull up my slides here. Thank you for joining. And those of you listening to the replay, give me hashtag replay in the comments so that I know that you're joining. Let's see, present. I think, oh gosh. Okay, let's do this one. Screen share. How's your day going? Let me know where you're joining from as well, too. If you want to share your city, state that you're watching us from later, let me know. Love to hear from you. All right, here we go. And I think I gotta do full screen. How do I do that? Bear with me. Thanks for bearing with me here. Google Slides. How do we do full screen? Slideshow. That looks like it. There we go. Let me just pop that over on my other screen so I can make sure that you all can see this. Yes, great. Okay, you still see me and you can see the slides. Thank you again for joining this info session for End Emotional Eating. And this is an info session for my program that's called The Pathway to End Emotional Eating, which is designed to help you learn how to quickly learn how to handle emotions in healthy ways so that you can stop cheating on your keto diet or actually any eating plan. So this program is diet agnostic. So while I work with people on keto, this program works for any dietary protocol that you're trying to stick with. So you can stop falling off the wagon and you don't even have to spend years in therapy. It's pretty cool. So thanks for being here. The overview, what I'm going to cover today. I'm going to actually share some stories, some before and afters of some of my recent clients who've gone through this program. But also I'm going to share with you who is this info session for, and also who's this program for, who am I, and what is emotional eating. We're going to define that, and I'm going to talk about why do we even do it in the first place, because I know working with so many ladies that it's something that's really frustrating for them. And, if it's something that causes us so much distress, like where did this come from anyway? So I'll cover that. And I'll go over my 4-step end emotional eating system that I've developed and is the backbone of this program. And I'll give you an overview, the nuts and bolts, what's included with the program, and then your next steps. So if you feel like something that's for you, I'll tell you how you can join us. So who is this info session for? This is for you. If you know what you should be eating, but you still struggle to make those healthy choices, and you keep cheating or falling off the wagon, you have some success. Maybe you lose some weight, maybe you start to feel better health-wise, but you fall off the wagon, you gain the weight back, your health symptoms come back, and you just keep beating yourself up about it. You just feel like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I figure this out? You might be at a place on your weight loss journey where you've plateaued or started to gain the weight back, and it's because you keep overeating, and you may be feeling out of control with your eating habits. You feel like you just can't even stop this pattern, even though you know it's not what you want to do. And you also might be somebody that you feel like life is overwhelming, and food is the only way you know how to cope with life. And so you don't know how to do anything different. So, like I said, I'm going to share some recent client before and after stories just to let you know what's possible with this program. So VM went through my last cycle of this program, and these are her words. She said she was an endless cycle of turning to food to cope with the things that she was thinking about and feeling, and as a result feeling guilty, embarrassed, and full of shame. And she was stuck in a pattern of self-sabotage and wasn't quite sure how to break the cycle. And VM, like almost all my clients, very smart person, very, very successful. And if you're watching this and you're just like her, you feel like you got a lot of other things figured out in your life, but this feels like, why can't I figure this out? And so these ladies end up beating themselves up about, what's wrong with me? Why can't I do this? But I'm here to tell you it's pretty common, but there is hope. And so after VM completed the 7-week program, she reported that she was able to identify and name her emotions and tie them to an unmet need and begin to meet her needs rather than using food to self-soothe. So let me just point something out really quick here too, because a lot of people mistakenly think that ending emotional eating is about having a craving and you're debating, oh gosh, I really want to eat this thing, but I know I shouldn't. And then having a tool to use in that moment to do something different. But that's doing it wrong. That's the wrong way, actually. And so that's why it hasn't been working for you in the past. And a lot of people come into this program thinking that that's what they're going to learn, but that's not what we're doing at all. We don't actually even focus on that moment of when you're having the craving. We go through a pattern, and I'm going to tell more about it a little bit later, but we go through actually just getting in touch with naming the feelings and then learning what that means and then being able to identify needs that we have. So the reason that we have that urge and craving to begin with is because we have needs as a human being that we don't even know that we have that we're not meeting. And so the craving and using food to cope is a downstream thing that happens from not doing some other things, beforehand. And so VM here talking about learning how to meet the needs is actually the work that we do. So we begin to meet our needs, and then we just find we don't have to struggle with that time when we get to that point of craving and urge and fighting with ourselves about it. That part just goes away. So how much easier would it be then to know that you're not going to get to the point of having the craving and beating yourself up about like, oh, I really want to eat that, but I shouldn't. That part just melts away in this through this program. So it's so much easier than you think it's going to be. And so again, second point here of VM's after story is that I now have the tools, encouragement, and self-confidence to end my pattern of emotional eating permanently. And again, I wanted to say that it's not about in the moment doing something different. It's about fixing things that cause you to be in that moment in the first place. And cool story too. Cool story, bro. VM was able to, within the 7 weeks of the program, drop 8 pounds because she just stopped doing the emotional eating. And so kind of the goal, right? And she also reported that I'm also better able to communicate with my family. This was a really cool byproduct of her going through this program, is that her communication in general with all the people in her life just became better. She learned another skill and tool that a lot of us humans don't learn. So basically some of the unmet needs she had were communicating effectively with other people in supportive ways. And so she was able to better communicate with her family and have had much better, can I read this? Have been much better at seeking help when I have an unmet need, priceless skills. And she also said it was worth every penny and every moment of the time spent. So really cool. So who am I? Some of you may be watching this and not even know who I am. So I should actually cover that too. So I'm Carol Freeman, and I'm a certified nutritionist, a clinical hypnotherapist. I went to Bastyr University and other schools. I have a bachelor's in nutrition and a master's in nutrition and clinical health psychology. So this part that I'm in this program, it comes from years of study of a lot of different things, but also my master's degree in clinical health psychology and training I did through that. So I developed this approach through what I learned in school, but also just working with so many of the women that I have over the last, gosh, what have I been doing this for? Eight years now. And, part of my nutrition training and undergrad and master's programs, we learned about mindfulness and intuitive eating and health at every size. Also where, psychology and biochemistry of, what drives us to eat, appetite, cravings, addiction, and urges, and all of that. And so that's my background and training. I've been working with women primarily, a few men, but women primarily over the last 8 years, exclusively in sustainable keto eating. And a big part of that is the psychology of why do we eat what we eat? Why do we crave? Why do we feel deprived? And so this program came out of that work where some people just need a little more support and skills in this department. And frankly, I said some people, but frankly, I think every human on this planet, well, okay, not every person on this planet, but a lot of people would really, really benefit from learning these skills, because what I found is that these are just human skills that we should all have. Food may not be the coping mechanism that everyone turns to. There's a lot of different maladaptive coping strategies because we don't learn how to have our feelings or emotions that we turn to. But anyways, these are just teaching basic human skills that we should all learn. that we don't. And so I started doing a keto myself after a horrendous car accident in 2014. And I was disabled the better part of a year and a half and ended up finding the keto diet as a way. And it was really the final piece of the puzzle. So, like I've got on the slide here, I did all of this training thinking this was going to help me help women. Like I'd been passionate since high school, basically, in trying to help women feel empowered and healthy and happy. And all of this training I got, all the schooling and education, I thought that that was going to help me figure this out. But it wasn't actually until this car accident where I'd had a brain injury and was disabled that I discovered a keto diet as the final piece of this puzzle that I've been trying to solve. And I had a long list of things that got better. Really, really amazing things that happen with a keto transformation. So, but again, this program is not a keto program. Actually, we don't talk about food at all. There's no dietary recommendations. This work in this program is to help you be able to stick with making the healthier choices that you just know. Either you have a dietary plan you're trying to stick to, or in general, you just feel like your weight keeps increasing or your health keeps getting worse because of using food emotionally instead of for healthy food fuel. And so this whole program is diet agnostic, like I've said, and it's designed to just help you have healthy expressions of emotions and not use food to cope with that. So this was my keto transformation. That's me on the right, if you can't recognize it, with my sisters and stepmom at holidays, Christmas. I didn't even picture that. That one's a few years old now. But anyways, that's who I am. And so let's switch now into what is emotional eating? What the heck is it? Because I've had a lot of people say like, well, I'm not an emotional eater, but let's talk about it because almost everybody is and they don't realize it. So emotional eating is eating food when you're not physically hungry, or physiologically hungry is what I should change that to, physiologically hungry. So, so this is a lot of, if you've ever found yourself bored or stressed, like imagine that you're working really hard on a project and you're like, oh, I'm kind of frustrated. And you start thinking about having a snack. I'm going to get up and go to the kitchen, or I'm going to the office. I'm going to go out and grab something really quickly. That's actually emotional eating as well. So anytime that you're eating food because you're not physiologically hungry, when your body doesn't actually need food fuel going into your mouth, it's also anytime you're eating in response. So when you're aware even that you're having emotions, like feeling angry, sad, lonely, deprived, oh, this isn't fair, unloved, social pressures, or, stress as well. So a lot of stressors come up in life every day, and a lot of people use food to manage their stress. And the other thing to note too is that emotional eating can be in response to positive or negative emotions. So often we just think of, well, emotional eating is when you're sad and you eat ice cream while watching the Hallmark Channel at night. You feel lonely, you just broke up with your significant other, and so now you're going to eat to make yourself feel better. But emotional eating is also common in positive feelings when you're excited. Okay, so think about like parties and birthday celebrations and the holidays coming up as well, although the holidays for people often are a mix of negative and positive emotions. But any kind of an event where it's like, oh my gosh, let's go celebrate. I just got a raise at work. Let's go celebrate. Let's go out and eat all that stuff that, we don't normally eat. And I'll talk about why we do that as well here in a little bit. But so just keep in mind that emotional eating isn't just like soothing sad feelings or lonely, that it also can be like when you're the reason we're doing it for both positive and negative is we've learned to just come back to base neutral. And again, I'm getting ahead of myself here, so I will save that for a couple of slides from now. But again, it's a learned behavior. We learn to do this as a child, as a young person, and it's extremely common. Almost everybody on this planet does it. So, but is it bad? Is emotional eating bad? Emotional eating is neither good nor bad. It just is. But if you're here, it's likely because the consequences of emotional eating are causing you distress in your life and you're ready to do something different. So why do we do it? I like explaining the why behind things. It helps people feel more empowered, and it's just kind of a fun thing to think about. Well, maybe for some people it's not so fun, but why do we emotionally eat? Well, we've learned that food is really, really good at helping us numb out, avoid, or dissociate from our feelings or emotions. And especially sugary, refined carbohydrate, what's called highly palatable foods or highly processed foods. Um, they are actually really powerful drug like numbing agents. They act on the same part of our brain as drugs. And so we learn from a very young age that whatever foods of choice make us feel that numb, dissociative feeling. Okay. Think about the phrase comfort food. Oh, I'm craving some comfort food. You want comfort from the food. The comfort comes from chemical reaction in your brain, or not a reaction, but a chemical cascade in your brain that makes you feel that numb feeling, right? So, so anytime you're craving comfort food, you're craving to eat emotionally, okay? And we learn this from our parents or caregivers or grandparents or whoever raised us. And I think I've got to, let me say a little bit more about this. So they meant well, okay? And our parents didn't, if we've learned this from a young age, our parents or grandparents or whoever our primary caretakers were when we were younger, they didn't know any better either, and probably their parents and so on and so forth. So these are just skills that have been passed down. It's pretty normal that parents see their child in distress and they say things like, oh my gosh, here, have a cookie. Would you like a bowl of, whatever, would you like a bowl of mac and cheese? Let me help you feel better, right? So it's just kind of a normal reaction that parents see a child in distress and they want to comfort them. And it's not, again, it's not right, wrong, good or bad that they've done this. It's just what they learn to do as well. And it's a normal thing to soothe a child that's in pain. And again, this is the negative part of the emotions, right? And so they just did the thing that they knew to do that would quickly help them feel better. And again, it's not right, wrong, good or bad, but if done to excess, then it creates distress in our lives because we haven't learned anything different. And parents didn't have any other tool in their toolkit to help you feel and identify your feelings. They just wanted to help you make the feelings go away. Also, if you were like my family, any excited feelings were also taught to be numbed out, avoided, or dissociated, right? How many can identify with a phrase of like, be quiet, calm down, sit down and be quiet? Like, can you remember a time from your younger years when you're really excited about something and you were jumping around and running around and maybe you're screaming, and the message you got from your caretakers were, be quiet, calm down, sit down and be quiet, okay? So we were taught if we were sad, we were supposed to not be sad. If we were excited, we're not supposed to be excited. If you were crying, did you ever hear this? This is something I heard growing up. You're crying, you were exceptionally upset. Be quiet or I'll give you something to cry about. How many can identify with that one? It's sad, but it's something, Generation X, we heard it, there's a lot of things that we survived. So we were even taught that we were extremely sad. We just needed to somehow just not have those feelings, just stop those feelings right now. And also excited feelings as well. We were taught, I covered that already. When you run around, you're really excited. All right. So all emotions and feelings, besides just sitting there and not having any feelings at all, we're taught that we were supposed to shut them off, stop doing it, avoid it, numb out, dissociate from your feelings or emotions, right? So can you kind of understand how we learned that all feelings were to be avoided because our parents didn't have the skills to teach us anything different? And so, depending on the dynamics of, your life, the degree that which you used other substances to numb, avoid, or dissociate from feelings and emotions, were used at differing degrees. And so like I said earlier in this, is some people will learn to use drugs, alcohol, to achieve this: numb, avoid, dissociate from your feelings or emotions. Some people will use compulsive sexual behavior. Some people compulsive shopping or gambling. And a lot of people use food to do this. And a lot of people use a lot of different of those things. And there's a lot more examples of basically substances that help us numb, avoid, or dissociate from feelings or emotions. And So you're here because food has started to cause you some distress and you'd like to learn something different now. So another client story I wanted to share here as well is Jay, and she's somebody that went through my last version of, or the last cohort of this program, the Pathway to End Emotional Eating. And Jay is, again, somebody very, very successful, and working very, very hard for years in therapy for years and years, trying to fix all this, right? And but feeling really lost and confused and ashamed about repeating self-destructive patterns, and frustrated at my perceived lack of progress with therapy and other self-help. So Jay's probably like a lot of you, that you've done all the things, you've read all the books and the workbooks, and perhaps you're even in therapy to help resolve this, but you're really not seeing a lot of progress. And she discovered through this as well is that disconnected from her own human basic needs. And so forgive the language here if this offends you, but this tells you how powerful this program was for Jay, is that at the end, she said it was fucking life changing. And she says, you can use that as a direct quote. And Jay, unfortunately, during our program, lost a parent. And a lot of people, having not learned the skills that you learn through this program, that's a time where things just feel completely out of control. And most people are going to engage in some kind of emotional eating. But it was amazing to watch Jay go through it. And not only the day of the passing of her mother within a few days, did she still join our group call, because she was so looking forward to being with these other women that had learned to feel feelings, identify them, feel them, and not be afraid of having them, and not need to do something in order to escape them. And so some of the biggest grief you can ever experience as a human being, going through that and knowing that there's this cohort, this group of other people that are going to be there and understand, and she can express and be in her feelings and not need anything, including food, to be able to escape those, and feeling calmer, confident in her ability to meet her own needs without turning to food. Having a solid process and toolkit for managing distress. Again, she writes, in the hardest moments of losing a parent, that was her hardest moment. And again, just to reiterate too, this is not about a toolkit of it wasn't like she's learns of the passing and she's struggling with cravings and now she's got a toolkit of what to do instead. It's not about that. She was expressing and feeling feelings the whole way, so she never got to the point where she needed to use food to escape or numb from the grief of a parent passing. The other cool transformation she experienced was a kindness first mindset towards herself. And I'm there witnessing all of this transformation with all these people. So it was a really cool thing of watching her go from feeling ashamed of even having needs. And this was a really common experience of the ladies through the program, was that we, especially as women, we end up being the caretakers for so many in our lives. And we, not only do we dismiss and neglect our own needs, we often feel shame or guilt for some reason of even needing anything. And so there's this shift that happens through the program where, everybody's kind of going, oh gosh, I do have needs. And that's just a human thing. Having needs is a human thing. It's not a bad thing or something to be ashamed of. And so this was one of her big shifts that was made through the program, as well as this kindness first mindset towards herself and acceptance. And being able to look at her own needs and feelings from a place of compassion and curiosity. And she also reported too that this was huge changes within just in a few weeks of doing this program versus years of therapy that she'd been working on this stuff for a long time. So pretty cool. So end emotional eating. So my pathway to end emotional eating, again, program I've specifically designed through years and years of study and working with real people. And so I've created this 4-step system to ending emotional eating. So the first step is making friends with your feelings. So we start to learn that to name feelings. And here's a cool thing. Guess what? Why do we even have feelings? A lot of people are like, can we just not have feelings? Can we just make them go away? They're so inconvenient. But feelings are actually body's language. So our emotions, feelings, and when we get in the program, we'll talk about the difference between feelings and emotions, but we kind of use them interchangeably at the beginning. So when we have a feeling or emotion, it's our body's language and it's telling us something, but we never learn to speak this language. And so that's the first step of this program is starting to learn to name feelings. And we've got some tools that make it really easy and fun to do. And, uh, and then we look at that as, so we often think of feelings as good or bad, okay? But we change that language to comfortable feelings and uncomfortable feelings. And so when we have comfortable feelings, that's our body's language, and it's telling us we should do more of whatever we've been doing because we are getting our needs met as a human being. So comfortable feelings mean good job, do more of that. You're meeting your human needs, basic human needs. Uncomfortable feelings, so things that we previously would have talked about as being bad feelings, those are our body's language telling us, trying to tell us that we have an unmet need of some sort. And so that's the basic first step, naming the feeling, identifying them, and then learning what that is trying to tell us. And just like if you can imagine a small child that's been pulling on your pants or your skirt or your apron for years. Imagine you have a small child that lives in your house that you do not speak the same language. You don't even know what language this child is speaking. They just keep pulling on your pants, and you can tell they want something, they need something, but you're like, I don't know what you need. So this and if you can imagine that you suddenly learned to speak the same language, and then you're like, oh my gosh, you need this, you're feeling this. And then as soon as you identified that and you acknowledged the feeling, the need that they had, they would stop tugging on you. They'd be like, oh my gosh, thank God you finally paid attention to me, and now I feel better. And so a lot of times just being able to name a feeling, identify it, is enough to make that overwhelming feeling subside. And so sometimes just this alone, this step, ends up helping people reduce the urge to emotional eat dramatically. And then we also kind of go back in time, and the next step here is to identify what was happening that triggered this feeling or emotion in the first place. And we start to notice some patterns in our lives of the people, places, or situations that tend to be the things that lead to these overwhelming feelings, emotions, and the urges then to use food to numb or escape those. And then the third step then is beginning to assess your true needs. And like I said, the comfortable feelings mean we've got needs that are being met. We've got some tools that we use as well to look at basic human needs, because there's a lot more than we realize that we've got or that we have. And so the comfortable feelings, we take time and go, wow, what was that doing for me that's good? And I should bring more of that in my life. And then the uncomfortable feelings, we learn, okay, what are the needs that are missing in my life? What are the things that I'm neglecting in my life? And how can I begin to meet those for myself? And then the step 4 is implementing the new behaviors to create healthy feeling habits. So beginning to meet your needs instead of numbing out. So as you're identifying the areas in your life where you're out of balance and the things that you have as needs as a human being, how do you then begin to work towards meeting those? So one more client transformation story for you. So H went through this pathway to end emotional eating program. And before, H had been working with a naturopathic doctor for years on health issues and health concerns. And they put together a dietary protocol for her to stick with. But she just found she just kept feeling so frustrated and guilty and ashamed that she wasn't able to stick with it. And again, super smart person, very, very successful, beating herself up for not being able to also be as successful in this area of her life. And so, spent a lot of money working with a naturopath, knows what she needs to be eating, but just kept turning towards comfort foods to deal with life. And she specifically said, before this course, I was ignorant, naive, and clueless about the internal dynamics that drive my unwanted behaviors. And after, she says she was able to do 2 amazingly helpful things. I can unpack things with compassion and understanding rather than shame and frustration, and I can preempt unwanted behaviors by recognizing and accepting my needs as a human being, free of guilt and shame. and meet my needs before they compel me to behave in unwanted ways. And so, uh, kind of a poetic transformation, really. All right. So, if you're curious, now I'm going to go into more details of the actual program. So, the pathway to end emotional eating, the program overview, it what it does. So, it's powered by my 4-step emotional eating system that I just went over for you a couple slides ago, and it helps you stop using food to cope with life and emotions, and to have healthy expressions and experiences of feelings without being compelled to use food. And like I said, this is about doing the work that's leading you to that point. It's not about in the moment white knuckling it and making a different choice. That doesn't work. And so it's designed to help you stick with whatever healthy eating plan that you know that you feel best on, and ending emotional eating for good. So, program learning outcomes, understand why we eat to cope with emotions. You probably have a little bit of an insight on that right now. Learn our body's primary language and what it's trying to tell us. Identify emotions and feelings. Identify the triggers, the people, places, and situations that lead to these overwhelming feelings and emotions, and stop the habit cascade before it even starts. Assess and accept your true human needs, and begin to meet those needs in healthy ways so that you can no longer use food to cope. Right. So the nuts and bolts then of the program. So pathway to end emotional eating. It's 8 weeks long. There are 6 video modules with action items. And so I found in running this over time that we just need a little more time for processing and implementation. And the 6 video modules, while you could go do one per week, they're meant to be more self-paced. And so some people are needing to spend a little bit more time in the beginning and just getting comfortable naming, identifying feelings. Some people can move through a little bit faster. And so it's very self paced. And I let people go through the modules at whatever speed is comfortable for them. A lot of the ladies in the last group found that they would go through it once and then they would re listen to it again to really let it all sink in. Also, a full comprehensive workbook. We do 8 weeks of a small group support group. So we do this on Zoom, and we start together and we end together, and it creates just this amazing, loving, supportive, compassionate group of people that oh my gosh, you're just going to want them to come over each week for a hug session, right? So it's just and so that's a really important part of the program. So it's included, but you also need to commit to doing that every single week, because it won't work for each person if they're not there every week. And also the other people in the group depend on each person to be there for that support, because we do little breakout sessions within the meeting for smaller group work. And so this program depends on people being there. And so when we meet is actually selected by the group. So I limit this program to 5 spots total. 2 are filled already. So I've got 3 spots open. And after the people enroll, we do a poll and we figure out what time works for everyone to meet every week. So don't worry about I don't know if I can make the meeting or not. We will select that together as a group, and we will find a time that works for every one of those 5 people. And so the reason I don't want to pick the time ahead of time is because I don't know what's going to work for everybody. But this way we make sure that it is a time that everyone commits to, and you make that commitment to the group of people and yourself. We also have a private Telegram group. So this is just a chat app, kind of like WhatsApp or something like that, that has a group chat feature. And so in between those group sessions, you can still have contact with everybody and share your wins and challenges and things like that. So that's the nuts and bolts of what's actually included with the program. So next steps, let me look and see. Actually, when I'm going through the presentation, I can't see if there are comments, and I forgot to look for them. All right, Tanya is joining us from Missouri. Thank you for chiming in, Tanya. I'm sorry I didn't see that beforehand. And so if this is something that feels like, gosh, yes, this is me, I need this, let's talk about the next steps, how to get started. So I want to cover who this is for and who it's not for, right? So this program is not for everybody. And so this is for you if you're sick and tired of food ruling your life, you're 100% ready to get rid of emotional eating, you're willing to invest the time, effort, and money in solving this problem in your life, you really feel like this is the number one issue keeping you from being able to stick with the foods that you know are the healthiest for you. And you also find power in education and a supportive community of like-minded, strong women, and a few select men. We'll let a few men in. And but also, if you're a man who doesn't work well with women, that's probably I should put that on the next slide of who it's not for. So this is not for you if you're somebody that wants an easy, quick fix. If you're like, yeah, I want this, I know I have an issue with this, but gosh, I don't want to put a lot of effort into it. I don't want to actually do any work. I just want to pay some money and make it go away. This is not for you. So also, if you don't have 2 hours per week that you're willing to invest in yourself, the ladies that are really working at this hard, they said they probably, so including our meeting, so the meeting ends up being about 90 minutes each week. That's the amount that we found was just perfect amount of support to get through what we needed to do. And so the ladies reported that they were spending somewhere between like 2 to 4 hours per week going through the materials and including the meeting and just other little things that they were working on for themselves. So really a small amount of time in a week, if you think about it. I'm pretty sure you spend more time on TikTok or Netflix or scrolling social media than that. But anyways, if you don't have that, if you know like that's just going to be really impossible to fit in your schedule right now, it's not going to work for you. Also, if you're not willing to invest that time in yourself as well, you're not coachable, you think you got it all figured out on your own, you're just not somebody who likes a group thing, this is not going to be for you either. And also, if you're just not at a place yet where you're willing to break up with these foods that are ruining your life. If you're like, I don't want to change my eating habits. I know it's a problem, but I just don't want to do anything yet. So obviously this wouldn't be for you. So if you know that you're one of the people, again, I've only got 3 spots left in this group. This is the last time I'm running this for 2023. Just go to this website, endemoeating.com. I'm not trying to pick on emo people or anything like that, but it was a shorter, easier to spell URL. So endemoeating.com. That's the enrollment page there. And like I said, at the time that I'm doing this broadcast, oh, excuse me, I'm getting all choked up about it. At the time of this broadcast, I only have 3 spots left. So if you know you want one of those, grab it as soon as possible. First come, first served. You're going to get 6 video modules. And as soon as you enroll, you immediately get access to all the video modules. So you can dive in right away. You're going to get the comprehensive workbook that's there in the online portal as well. And then the 8 weeks of live group support meetings that we're going to all pick together, the time that works for all of us, and the enrollment in the private Telegram group so you can start chatting with everybody. This is the last time I'm running this program in 2023, and it's the last time that I'm offering it at only $497. The transformation that people are getting in this program is worth way more than what I've been offering it at. So 3 spots left, $497. Go grab it now. In 2024, the program is essentially going to double in price. And it's totally worth even twice what I'm going to raise the price to. So grab it now. Last time I'm going to offer it that way. So endemoeating.com. And I'm going to come back over and answer any questions that y'all have. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and type them in the chat now there and let me know. Again, I think I've covered when the meetings will be, get immediate access to the modules, and only 3 spots left. And any questions? I know there's a little bit of a lag on the live stream, so I'm just going to wait a couple of minutes here and see if there's anybody has any questions. If you have questions and you're watching the replay of this, you can go ahead and type in the questions in there as well, and I will get a notification and answer those as soon as I can. But again, if you know this is you and you want this, go grab a spot right now. So I don't see any questions coming in. So again, if you're watching the replay, put your questions in there and I will get a notification and answer them as soon as I can later. And thank you all for joining live here today. endemoeating.com is the website to go to. And thank you all for being here. And we'll see you all soon. Have a good rest of your day. Bye now.